Hey, it's Mike. So I thought I'd share with you just a quick video on a couple of pedals that are really popular right now in my lineup, and for good reason. They're just very fun to play, extremely musical, a little more forgiving than like your standard tone bender Mark I style pedal, and just kind of immediately really fun to play. So this is the SupaFuzz Mark I. This is the SupaFuzz Mark I in a smaller box. It's got a couple extra controls, which I'll kind of go over. So on the big one, this is like a cast aluminum replica enclosure. They both have the same hammered silver finish and the Marshall style knobs. I kind of went to great lengths to try to find the exact same fonts that were used by Marshall in the 60s and on all the controls, and just so it has the look and the vibe and everything. So inside you'll see on both of these pedals that this is built pretty much just like the originals. There's a couple of additions to the pedals, like for instance this guy here, the output cap, that was not on the original, so I kind of had to add that to stabilize the circuit a little bit. It wouldn't have had an output cap originally, and the switch would pop and you could have some DC leaking into your guitar, which is kind of not very nice sounding. Makes your pots all scratchy. It still has the same 3 transistor circuit, and all the layout as far as the wiring and everything is the same as what you'd find in an old one. I'm just using, my parts that I have on hand, and typically it's all old stock caps. I've got a couple of new caps in here just for reliability's sake. Sometimes it's harder to find these electrolytics that don't leak a lot, and just trying to make it a little bit quieter. But we've got some cool stuff in there. This one is loaded up with NKT OC77s, like a mil-spec version of that, and sounds great. I think it's really good kind of balance between the fatness of like a Mullard sounding transistor and the clarity you get out of the kind of Russian style Soviet transistors. And of course this has all the shielded wiring, and you've got these UK cliff jacks. This also has the bias control, but it's on the inside right here. It's kind of a trick to get it in there, but I wanted to add that because it gives you some flexibility for being able to gate the fuzz and make it kind of interesting, or open it up a bit and give you a little more range than the stock SupaFuzz with just the 2 knobs would do. So traditionally you'll have a filter and a volume knob. On the Mark I version, the filter is actually a filter control, so if you turn it all the way up, it's kind of like there's nothing there, and as you start turning it down, it starts filtering some of the high end out, and you get to more of an extreme as you turn it down, and it seems to emphasize more of just that lower mid-range tone, and smooths it out a little bit, which is really nice. It's not very extreme control, but that's how they originally were. The volume, there's plenty of volume on this stock. You don't need them on it to be louder, which is nice. About halfway, and you're boosting the output quite a bit. Anyway, moving on to the smaller one. It's the same, essentially the same pedal. Inside, exactly the same layout. It has the same capacitor type values and all that stuff. The types that I'll use from unit to unit might be slightly different, but I pretty much am just looking for specs and making sure that they sound consistent. This is using a combination of OC76 Mullards for Q1 and Q3, and CV7007 NKT, which is like the OC77. So you kind of get a little bit of best of both worlds with this, where you get a little bit more of that crunchy gain in the clipping section, but a smoother sound on the input and output. I wire all of them, the vintage style too. It's all true bypass. Hard to add an LED or a power jack to this enclosure because it's so thick, but I do that on all these if you would like. So this has a power jack on it, this has an LED on it. This is also the new deluxe model, so I'm going to put this on the site this week. It should be on there now, where it has the external bias, and it has a switch up top here, which I'm calling a tight switch. So part of the sort of signature sound of the SupaFuzz, both of these, when it is in the stock position, which on this one is to the right. I'll try to make them all like that. So to the right, it's in the stock SupaFuzz position. They kind of have this sagging bloom sound, so it really compresses as you pick harder. And depending on where you have the bias set, you can get that kind of more or less, but also it's just kind of a trademark of this style fuzz to have that compression, sag, bloom feel and sound. It's part of what makes them really fun and exciting to play is as you're picking, it can respond differently. So it feels really alive. It also sounds really big compared to like a Mark 1. It has a lot of low end and sort of thickness. It's a lot of thick, kind of low mid-range also. There's less treble content, but that can be useful in some situations like single coil guitars or a brighter amp, but also it's just kind of easier to dial in. On a Mark 1, I tend to have to roll back the tone control quite a bit. On this one, I can use the tone control really anywhere, and it's just a little more friendly overall. The bias control works the same on both of these, so I took the bias on this straight off of my old Descry model. So it's essentially, it's biasing the second transistor stage, and it gives you a sweep all the way down. The fuzz is kind of not really, the transistor's not really turned on yet. It's a little bit gated in an odd way, and it's still, you can play through that. It's just kind of a weaker sound. It's a little bit interesting, but I kind of leave it there because I think it's a cool sound. And immediately as you turn it on, it starts to turn on and get more powerful until eventually around halfway or so, it depends on each transistor, it'll start to gate the signal and gate it more as you turn it all the way up. And you can get more crumbling textures and some interesting things that happen when you sustain the note. Same filter and volume control as what's on this. Those are just the stock controls. I didn't do anything different on those. But yeah, it's just a kind of a little more friendly version that you can put on a pedal board easily, and or if you just didn't have as much space, or it's also a lot less expensive. I think it's a little more than half the price, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run a sale on these to do a pre-order. So if you wanted to pick up the SupaFuzz Deluxe, which I think I'm just calling the Supa Deluxe, right now you can get one on sale price on pre-order. So, and it'll look just like this, same hammered texture finish. You can add an LED or a power jack if you want, or you can leave them off. It doesn't cost more to add them. And then we've got the tight switch and your extra bias control. Normally this would just be on the inside if you didn't order it. Otherwise you can see there's a hole there that this bracket I designed so that you can have the pot down in, on the bracket. It's pretty helpful on a lot of things like a fuzz face or 1.5 or Mark II, and then on the SupaFuzz as well, just to have some kind of extra control. A lot of people are looking for something a little bit different, so you just never know what their exact idea is of sustain versus gating, and kind of how much the texture changes and feels under your fingers. This adjustment, the bias adjustment, will really give you a lot of range, and it's really fun. So that's these two fuzzes. I just wanted to quickly go over them since I had both of them here. Again, these are both sold. They're going out to the customers, but you can order these through my site, just like this, and I will be doing the sale on the deluxe version. Probably leave that page up for a week or so and just see how it goes. So real quick, I think I'll just go over the circuit with you, just so you can have a better idea of what the SupaFuzz is and where it sits in the lineup. So you've got the first stage here. This is your buffer stage, just like a Mark I tone bender. It's got this yellow cap here that's underneath. It's got some blue writing on it. That is like an input to ground capacitor, or like a pull down capacitor, and it's helping shave off quite a bit of high end on the input. And it helps tame some of the sizzle, and it makes it overall just feel a little bit thicker and fatter. Normally this is the input cap and it's much bigger, but we have it on the switch over here now. So you can have two different values, so you can have a much smaller input cap to tighten things up, or have the stock big cap, which is what helps cause that compression and sag. Then you go through another capacitor. This is the same as what would be on a Mark 1, same circuit, and it goes into Q2. Q2 is mainly where the clipping is happening. So much like on a Mark 1 tone bender, you can affect a lot of the sound with Q2 and how you bias it, and how much gain and how much leakage and all that. That's kind of part of why I have the bias control as something that can change the sound and make it interesting and make it kind of more versatile. As we go through the circuit, again, another cap here, just like you would have on your Mark 1, that goes between the gain stages and into Q3, and this is where it gets a little bit different. So normally after Q3 there would be just a capacitor and a resistor that forms like a high pass filter, and so it shaves off some low end on the output. But this actually has a low pass filter put on the output, so you can cut some high end, and that is through the filter control. And it's just got this in this case it's this orange cap right here, and it's just a small value capacitor attached to ground through a pot on the output, and there's a resistor that kind of sets the frequency, as well as there's a little resistor that bumps the output down because these are very loud. And then normally, like I said, it wouldn't have this output cap here, this little yellow one on the end, but I added that just so that it has some stability, and it blocks the DC voltage that's present in the circuit from getting back into your guitar and making everything kind of scratchy and not ideal. It also keeps the switch from popping when you turn it on and off. But yeah, anyway, I hope that was informative, useful, and potentially just fun to listen to. This Supa Deluxe is going to be on sale, so I'll put a link below, and you can pre-order it with a discount currently on the site for, I don't know, like I said, probably about a week. I'll leave that up. And these are always available to order, to special order, as a custom build. If you have like any specific requests on these two, I can look into finding parts and just making the fuzz of your dreams. But anyway, I'll catch you next time, and let me know if you have any questions. You can leave a comment, or you can email me, or you can message me on Instagram. Take care. See ya.